In three, two, one, and we're live.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
How about no, you crazy Dutch bastard? What we've got here is failure to communicate.
60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
Why so serious?
I am serious, and don't call me so.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the DTD program, Do the Deed. Tonight we have a special show for you. Suicide is a serious problem that is affecting the United States, not only with military that are returning, retired military, frontline responders. With COVID, suicide is up. And tonight, we're going to talk to the chairman of the board of 22 Kill. It's an organization that was created to raise a community that raises awareness and combats suicide by empowering veterans, first responders, and the families through traditional and non-traditional therapies. So tonight, we have Dan Lombardo Jr., and what we are going to talk to him about is all of the different therapies that can be done in order to bring you out of whatever kind of hole you might be in right now and empower you to move on with your life. So, like I said, it's going to be the chairman of the board tonight, 22 Kill. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I am excellent. I'm super excited to talk to you about this tonight. I know that it sounds weird that I say I'm super excited to talk to you about it, but I think now more than ever, this is a serious problem, especially with COVID, with people being locked inside, with people not knowing, what to do, just with their lives right now. You'll hear a lot of people just say, I'm bored. I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know this and that. And I think it really affects people that are coming in, maybe getting out of the military or doing whatever, and already have kind of a step back saying, what do I do with the next phase of my life? So that's where your organization comes in. So let's talk about just how it got created and what your background is to bring this to the forefront.
So, how it got created was actually just before I got involved. A few Marines got together and they noticed that they lost a lot of friends by suicide. And about that time in 2012, the VA came out with this staggering statistic that we were losing 22 veterans every day by suicide. The first plan that they wanted to try to do is just create a community of awareness, let people know. So about that time when they were trying to figure out a way, that's when the 22 push-up challenge was created. And then how that you know that you were part of our tribe, and how you know that you understood the mission was you did your 22 push-ups and you got your 22 kill ring. So from there, I moved in as a board member for just HCC was our first mission, which was called Honor, Courage, Commitment. And then myself and Jake Schick, who is the CEO, decided that, we separated those two, and 22 Kill became 501c3 by itself. And then it just unfortunate that HCC went away. The program just disappeared after we took over 22 Kill. So once we did the 22 kill with the push-ups and the push-up challenge, it went viral. I mean, I remember it was like first two and a half years, we had over 22 million push-ups that we registered. And it was insane. Everybody was doing it. We had, celebrities. We had The Rock. We had David Beckham. We had all these guys doing this stuff. Well, my goal and Jake's goal, and at that time we had a few other board members, was the next step. The next step was not only to talk about the awareness, but actually make a difference, actually provide programs. So we took on the organization Stay the Course, and Stay the Course is our actual counseling program. So Stay the Course is actually, we provide services. Now, why is this more successful, or why is 22 Kill so successful? First of all, we make a small dent in what's out there right now. And as I was talking to you before we got on the air, is that we went up to the Hill in DC to talk about this, to let people, hey, in DC, this is what's going on right now. And that's when, like you said, they came back, and what we were told was it's not 22 a day anymore, it's like 21.
Okay.
But in those statistics, there's a lot of states that don't turn in their totals. There's some states that don't turn in women totals. There's some states that view, if a veteran from the VA was taking 40 pills a day and all of a sudden he took 100, unless he leaves a note or something on social media, that's an accidental death. So it's funny that we're worried about a number, because unless it becomes zero, it's an issue, right?
Absolutely.
So in that, we decided, hey, listen, we need to provide some programs. But every veteran, and I can't say every veteran, but most veterans, the tough guy thing, right, which is in our first responder world and is in our veteran world, is, you're coped to be a warrior, and you feel, well, there's nothing I can't take on or handle. And so when you're feeling depression and anxiety and these things are happening, you start saying, I can handle this on my own, or I shouldn't be feeling this way, but I don't want anybody to know that, this weakness. And, what we push out is, first of all, it's okay not to be okay. I mean,
Absolutely.
everybody's been depressed in their life. If you tell me you've never been depressed, you're a liar. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because everybody has been. So in that, it's just, how do you get the veterans in? Well, what I always say is, you see what's going on right now in society, right? And all the things, the riots and the looting and the issues that we have. Well, when we were in the military, we didn't have those issues. We didn't care if you were Black, Asian, Hispanic. It didn't matter. You were family, because the military tears you down and builds you back up. And in that build back up, you look at everybody like a brother or sister. You don't look at them about, hey, what religion they are or what color they don't care. It's a brother or sister, and you got their six, you got their back. So it's funny that our camaraderie is so strong that when a man or woman gets out, they miss that camaraderie. So they seek for it. And example would be what you see that happened in Vietnam. In Vietnam, a lot of the Vietnam vets, because how bad they were treated, went to motorcycle gangs. Because in the motorcycle gangs, it reconnected a camaraderie, a family that they were used to having. And that's why it just seems that the veterans will cling together. They can find each other, and you'll take two veterans who've never met each other. By the end of the night, they're hugging, they're giving each other high fives. It's just a whole nother world. So in our program, the first mission is, when you describe, we do traditional and non-traditional therapies. Well, there's a whole bunch of non-traditional therapies, but the goal of the non-traditional therapy is get veterans in and build a level of trust, because you can't work on the 6 inches between your ears, right, if you don't have trust. So we have events that are non-traditional programs. Could be, we have yoga, which is, I never thought it would take off, but it took off. We have art therapy. We have music therapy. We have our Forged program, which is forged in service, strengthened by a purpose, giving them a new purpose. That's hunting, fishing, all the outdoor things. But all those events, we got wind therapy, which is motorcycle. We just had our motorcycle ride. We had 500 motorcycles on our ride this last Saturday. So when veterans get together and they realize they get to hang out with other veterans, that's where the trust starts building. So just say you're out hunting or fishing, and at the end of the night, each one of our programs is run by a counselor, and we start just talking. They just talk to each other, and then that's when maybe the demons start coming out of expressing the stress and the anxiety and the stuff they go through by saying, man, the other night I had my weapon in my mouth, right? Well, the key words start coming out where then other veterans who've gone through the program and the counselors start telling them, hey, it's time to get that off your chest. It's time to make you whole again and get you going. So that's the non-traditional, is building that community together of veterans and first responders. And then it makes them understand through those non-traditional programs, maybe I do need to talk to somebody. And what's fantastic is the people you're talking to is either a veteran or counselors. They all have their master's degree. We have a few doctors on staff. Is a veteran, or they were a first responder, or they were married to a veteran or first responder, so they understand the language. So in that, that's where we want to build is trust. That, as I say, is how can you manage your life and the things you go through? Well, I would say an example would be DEF CON, right? So DEF CON 1, 2, and 3, I say, me personally, I can manage those. I know how to manage those. If I get to 4 or 5, I probably need to talk to somebody, right? So before I get to 4, I know maybe it's time to talk to somebody and try to figure out what it is that's triggering those things that's making you to reach those levels. So the sad part, people get confused with 22 kill, is they'll go, man, you're saving all these people. Well, I can't save anyone. The only one that can save anybody is the man upstairs, right? But we can empower you. We can give you the tools that you need to understand how to manage your DEF CON levels, right? And also, it's the largest divorce rate is first responders and veterans. So not only do we counsel the veteran or the first responder, we do their family, their kids, and that's because we want the unit as a whole to become a stronger unit together. So I'll give an example that if a guy's deployed, and just say he's deployed, he's away from his family. So the whole time he's not dad. Dad's fighting a battle, right? He's a soldier. So mom's managing everything, the kids, everything. So when dad or mom, whoever the warrior is, comes back home, they think they need to be in charge. Well, whoever it was managing the household has been in charge. So instantly there's this huge, clash of, wait, I'm in charge. Hey, you haven't been here. I've been managing it. And also the kids, I mean, if you've been gone, how have you developed to be and learn how to be a dad, right? So these are things that why the failure rate is so high is because you're be taught to become this killing or soldier machine, and you're coming home and I got to learn how to be a husband. I got to learn how to be a dad. Have to learn how to manage money. Then what do I do with myself once you out process, right? It's funny how they spend really years to build the machine, right? Because past basic training, they're still building, there's still constant training and things. But then in a week or less, you're out processed and you're a civilian. So the sad part is there's just not enough out processing time to really work on the individual, to really say, what are you going to do with your life? And even past that, you might have been given some skills, but there's still communication skills are different. Talking to civilians are different. I have a few veterans. I mean, we all give each other a bunch of crap, right? And hell. And, you might the night before fight over something and beat the hell out of each other. And the next day you just hug it out. It was just something that happened. That just doesn't work out in the civilian world. You can't tell your boss to go F off and expect to have your job tomorrow. Right. Well, that's where some of the guys get confused. It's like, hey, I'm coming back in. Hey man, let's hug it out. No, dude, you don't work here anymore. What? You know what I mean? So it becomes a huge concern of how do I get back going? And here's the other thing. If you were a low level in the Army, and I mean low level like a low grade, right? Where you didn't get a college education, and just say, you're a corporal or whatever, when you spend so many years in and you get out, the world's changed. I mean, you think, just say in the past 4 years, you can see how much the world has changed in technology and other things. And you get out, and all of a sudden it's like, I need to learn all these new skills, right? And who's going to teach me? Where do I find out how to do this? And then where it really hits home, because a lot of veterans have told me, and I sum it up in this story, is just say you're gone 8 years and you get out and you run into a friend of yours. He had a different, you went separate paths. He went to college. He graduated. He's got this great job. He's got the house on the hill, the picket fence, the little dog in the yard, and the freaking, he's grilling. And this military person, male or female, gets out and says, "Why can't I have that? I mean, I've been, 8 years of my life is gone serving this country, and I want that." And guess what opportunities? There's working at Walmart. You could start low level at Amazon. You can work fast food through the drive-through. And if you want to take somebody and humble them really quick and crush them, is I don't have anything to do, but I'm going to be working at Walmart or standing working a drive-through when I've got a Purple Heart, or you know what I mean, or I went and fought this war. So the stress is there. It's
Well,
just
and saying that the stress is there. I want to digress for a minute in the conversation and just talk about when you say they get out and they've given 8 years of their life. I don't think that people understand. We talk about this a lot. Last week I talked to Brad Thomas, who was a ranger, a Delta Force guy, and he said when he got out as a master sergeant. He really had no idea what to do in life. Started a band and stuff like that, but he found therapy through the music and things like that. I think what a lot of people don't understand when you talk about jobs, when you work at Walmart or you work low level in the Amazon warehouse, it's not the same kind of job as low level in the military. You're talking about, we've been at war for quite a while now in Afghanistan and Iraq. This is the longest we've ever been at war. So a lot of these soldiers that are going in are spending time in country, whatever it may be, whether they're frontline, whether they're support, whatever, but they are spending time in country with a very real possibility that it might be their last day every single day. And so when you get that person that gets out, and that's all they've known as an adult, because they join when they're 18, they're 26 years old now, and all they've ever known is this could be my last day. It changes things. Do you agree from a very core level?
And just so, because we use the terminology, I mean, low grade level, and I mean like any grade that you didn't go to college, right? You could have been a staff sergeant or a master sergeant. I mean,
Absolutely.
You can be up all the way at that level. But yeah, I mean, you get out and it's a huge culture shock. But not only that, what you just said about, any day now, that somebody could take your life, right?
Absolutely.
But in that, your body changes. I mean, the chemistry of your body changes. In other words, and this is, I call it the reverse adrenaline, which causes why I think a lot of veterans get in trouble when they're at home. Is you kind of take the fear goes away because you can't be afraid. You got to be able to run up that hill and do whatever you have to do. So the adrenaline's constantly going, right? Your adrenaline's going to keep you going. So you're always pumped up because you're always on that edge, right? On things that could happen. And when you get home, those experiences of adrenaline that were constant are gone, right?
Right.
And now you're in search for that adrenaline. And that's why you see veterans, crazy dirt bike riders, trying to surf, trying to jump off buildings of stuff, trying to do stuff to get that adrenaline constantly back. And the fact is, it's not going to be there like it was.
Right.
And
Never.
then the other thing is, that takes you to that emotional roller coaster, because all of a sudden the adrenaline's not there. Well, guess what? Now all this repressed stuff, because at the end of the day, all the billions of dollars we spend on medical research, the thing we know the least about is the brain. I mean, you think about, we got the heart figured out, we got all these things figured out. We do not have the brain figured out. So in that research and the stuff that we realize is they need to try to get that adrenaline back, and it's not there. So Then all of a sudden, all the things that you saw, maybe you lost friends, other people you saw, uh, like first responders, people in a car accident, a child that had passed away. When you go to bed, those repressed feelings come back, right? In your dreams. That's where the night terrors come. And all of a sudden, there's this anxiety of can't get to sleep. So guess what you start doing? You start self-medicating, right? Because you're like, okay, I cannot sleep because these things are haunting me. So I'm just going to take these two drugs. I'm going to take this. And the VA, I mean, the VA has a bad name because it's just really hard to manage as many veterans as they have. You're not going to get personal care. It's
No.
just too hard. There's too many of them. So the problem is when a person comes in and says, I can't sleep, blah, 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 the odds they're going to get you in counseling really quick are probably very low. So they're probably going to give you something to help you sleep. And then a couple months that doesn't work anymore, so we'll double it. So it's this residual effect that we're kind of turning our military vets into drug addicts. And the thing that we have to do when 22 Kill receives a veteran is we got to start over again. The first thing we say, you're going to have to stay away from drugs and alcohol. If you're taking a prescription drug, we need to see how much you're supposed to be taking. We need to help you moderate it because you can't just quit it because some of those will take you. So the thing we start doing is trying to help them manage themselves as the first stage of, I mean, if you're self-medicating, there's no reason I can't counsel you, right? Because you're not really here anyway. So we got to start with that first is let's start working on how you're coping with these skills. The next one is let's talk about your family members. How are they receiving what you're doing? How are you treating each other? So it's a long process. And the thing that we try to do is get them engaged in trust, start letting them work on them and understanding why they're having the feelings, and then getting this stuff off their chest. If you see our logo, like you see this picture back here, the logo's up top, the gas mask. The gas mask is because that's a military gas mask is veterans and first responders, they can put that mask on and you think, man, they're doing great. They're, don't seem like they're bothered at all about it. But all that's trapped in. We want them to remove the gas mask. We want them to be, hey, show us who you are, right? Let's get the real person out and let's get these feelings out out in the open. And that all starts with trust. So that's what I'm most proud about my tribe is trust. And why we say tribe is, by default, if you're on a team, everybody can be on the same team if they wear the same jersey. But that doesn't mean they have the same mindset, right?
Right.
But a tribe has the same mindset. They all believe in the same cultural things and beliefs and stuff. And that's why we say one tribe, one fight. And that's not just veterans and first responders against suicide. That's everyone. We want everybody to be in that tribe to combat the suicide problem we have. And every time I talk about it, just like you said earlier, is suicide rate in teens is higher than it ever has been.
So let's break those down for a minute, Dan. There's got to be, and maybe there's not a core answer to it, a one answer kind of fits all of them, but why do you think these levels are rising so much now? Let's take away COVID because those things were on the rise before that happened. Is it because there's no safe space anymore? And I hate to use the word safe space. What I mean is with the way technology is, with the way everything goes, no one can ever shut it off. And so,
well, that's the problem, though. Is
exactly.
I feel what the problem is. So why is it seemed like we're getting these uh, Middle East, the Desert Storm, Afghanistan. Why are these younger veterans having even more issues than it seemed like a lot of the older veterans had? And I think because the distractions of communication has changed. Uh,
Absolutely.
I'll give you an example. In my electrical company that I'm part owner of, I have a few project managers who are between the ages of 28 and just under 40, somewhere around there. They will be on a job site and there'll be two trailers side by side. And instead of like we did in the old days, you walk out of this trailer and you go over to this one and say, hey, I got an issue. They want to send an email or they want to send a text. They have lost the skills of face-to-face communication. And even, my kids, my 21 and 22-year-old, I'll say, hey, what was the issue today? And there's nothing. Then 30 minutes later, I'm getting a text. Well, you said this. I said, no. You come back down here and talk to me. We're not
Right.
dealing with this over a text. But we're getting, as a society, we're getting away from face-to-face communication. And how we've learned to communicate is I'm going to send an email or I'm going to send a text. And that's how I'd say 90% of the younger generation deals with stuff. Well, in that, you don't know if I'm yelling at you unless you put it all in caps. You don't know if I'm being emotional at that moment. None of that can be seen, right? You can't read somebody's eyes.
Right.
So that's, I think, the largest problem is the way America's grown is we've gotten away with the person-to-person communication. And now you throw COVID where you got to be 6 foot apart and all this other stuff. It's just made it worse. But think about it. When I was a kid, my mom, when we got home for school, right, would say, put your crap up and get outside. And I don't
Right.
want to see you till the street lights were on. And we always interacted with kids. Now, what you do is you get on your game system and you're communicating through your game. But where's the relationship building? Where's the understanding cultures and all that stuff? It's all gone because they're all
there's no reading the room anymore at
right.
all.
It's gone. So when you put that into the younger generation, the thing that I think has escaped the most is we used to care more, and I say we used to love each other more. And when I speak a lot, the thing I say that we're missing the most is loving each other. I mean, when I was around with my friends back in high school back in the day, when somebody said they were hurting, you went over to their house or you went and met them somewhere because you cared about them and you wanted to make sure they're all right. That's kind of disappeared these days. And it's funny, like I tell my kids, if somebody says, hey, I'm hurting, you go, well, man, if you need anything, I'm your person. I said, you better be sincere about that. You better not
Right.
just say it, because what I've seen that happens a lot, and like a lot of my veterans friends that are going through stuff, they said, man, once I hit rock bottom, my civilian friends all disappeared. I mean, it just like there was no one. And they outreach to one of us or to another veteran and saying, listen, bro, I'm hurting. I need help. I need somebody to help me. And that's the great circle of camaraderie that 22 Kill's been able to build is, hey, if somebody's asked for help, it just somebody who's gone through the program or has gone through a lot of the stuff and understands 22 Kill, you need to listen, and you need to provide some solutions when somebody has an issue. And I think a lot of people it seems like in our world that other veterans learn. But, when I talk to other people that, just say they're civilians, they say, man, my friend was hurting, but man, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I didn't know what to say. And I said, all you have to do is say you love and care about them. I mean, and stick there with them. But we've learned in a society to try to disconnect ourselves from other people's issues. And that's been a real problem, because when I talked to a lot of the Vietnam vets, they said, man, if I had my buddies that came back, and that's who their circle of guys were, that, they may have met them at the bar or whatever, but a lot of the Vietnam guys stuck together because they knew that's the only family they had. But that's what got a lot of those men and women through, was at least they knew how to connect to somebody with the same pain and anguish. Now, we lost a lot of vets by suicide, and we didn't track a lot of the Vietnam stuff, so we don't know how many we really lost. But when I talk to some of, like, the guy that signed that, he's a Medal of Honor. He was from World War II, and he told me, he goes, you know what, is me and my buddies, when we got back from World War II, we were each other's. I mean, we cried on each other's shoulders. We were our support. But then even he said he's like 90 years old. But we didn't have a phone in the house. We didn't have a TV. We didn't have all these other things as distractions. We just had each other. It's society's changed a lot. It really has.
So let me ask you, Dan, at any point, and this is going to be I don't want to put you in a tough spot with this, but do you think at any point that the military has failed these guys getting out, these guys and girls getting out? I know you said before that, you're out processed in a week and they've been building you up for all these years and then you're out in a week. Do you think that the military is doing everything it can to help these guys out? And even so far as to say first line responders, when these guys leave, it was their whole identity. When these girls leave, it was their whole identity. Are they doing enough on that side of the coin to help these guys out?
No, but I tell everybody there's a couple things on that. First of all, at the end of the day, the military is a business, right?
Okay.
To the government, and where are they going to put their money in their funds? They're going to put their money in funds that they need, a lot of advertisement, education to get people to join. And then they want you to become the best soldier that you could possibly be. They want to try to get the best guns and ammunition and supply that's around you to make you get your job done as easy as you can. And I think where the dollars run off is, how can we help you when you get out? But do they understand there's a problem? Yeah, they do, because it was about, I think it was last year sometime, the Air Force did a down day, 2 days, that they shut down every base for suicide prevention. That's active duty. So they know there's an issue. The Marines are starting to get more active, and I think the Army is too. It's just the two that I've been following was the Air Force and the Marines. Is that it's even starting to be a huge epidemic within active duty. I mean, when it was Desert Storm, which I was in Afghanistan, the suicide rate within an active duty person wasn't as high as it's starting to be now. So,
any idea why? Is it the same reasons that we talked about before? Do you think it's something different?
I just think it's coping skills, and I think also emotionally, the young men and women don't know what they're getting themselves into, right? They think they do when they join, and then they want out, and when they feel like, I mean, you have to accept the fact you are owned by someone else.
Absolutely.
And it like in Desert Storm in Afghanistan, both of them, if you wanted to take a break and you wanted to play volleyball and you got sunburnt, you're going to get in trouble because you damaged government property.
Government property. Yep.
So it's hard for some of them to think, I just can't say, hey, guess what? I quit like a normal job. No, you can't do that. So that's where I think the non-acceptance, but I think the government is doing a poor decision in their solution, which is to make basic training much easier.
Absolutely.
I mean, I talk to the new men and women that are coming out, and what they can do now compared to what I could do or these Marines can do is a joke. It's unbelievable.
Well, they have stress cards and all kinds of stuff.
So a friend of mine's son is in basic training right now in the Army, and he has this red card, and I think he can use it twice or 3 times. I don't know. And if he pushes it up, they can't yell at him anymore.
Right.
And listen, these are supposed to be future warriors, right? And not everybody can be that. And I tell everybody is not everybody can do a lot of jobs that you have to try on. Not, you know how many men and women try out to be firefighters and police officers and EMTs. You can't pass the test. You can't do the physical part. You can't be one. End of story. But I think we're reducing some of the things that why it makes you emotionally stronger, and they're reducing that, and it's not making it any better. So I don't know what the new warriors that are going to come out, how the stresses they're going to be put under. But I know the ones that we handle and the first responders. I mean, we know what's going on with the first responders right now. I'm glad that Fort Worth, where I'm at, Fort Worth, the city, loves their police, and even passed the increased tax to help the police department. But Dallas and some of the other surrounding, that they're not having the same thing. So a lot of Dallas officers wanting to leave and go to other deals because, I mean, you're having people spit on you, try to test your stress levels by getting in your face.
And Dan, we not necessarily you and I, but we were talking about it the other day, and I equate it to the Vietnam era, and I think we're going to reach a level where it's just like the Vietnam soldiers coming back that were spit on, that were disrespected, that just did what the government asked of them, what their country asked of them, and they're built up a level where it was a us versus them mentality, and I think that at a certain point we're going to get to that again where there's just no common ground between the two. And I don't ever want to see that, but I think we're headed towards something like that.
No,
and
you're right.
I think that once again we'll raise our numbers again.
Well, there's no doubt. And the problem is that if we do not, if there's not more places like 22 Kill for them to go to in our Stay the Course program, you're going to have less people wanting to join the military, less people wanting to be police officers, less people wanting to be firefighters and EMTs, and we're going to have a big problem. And the example that I always say that Bill Gates said, because when I joined the military, I wanted to be an engineer, and then I didn't want to sit behind a desk, so I went through and the electrical and got my master's license at a young age, and then did drawing, and I understood it all. But there's a lot of people that come out that don't have those opportunities, right? And the thing that I'm concerned about is that what I was saying on Bill Gates was when computers started up, right? They were the rage, and everybody wanted to be it, and it was $100 an hour to become a computer programmer, and it was like $10 an hour to get your toilet unstopped, right? And he says, man, I bet you in 10 years this is going to switch. And he was dead on. Yep. Now you call a plumber, it's $100 an hour, and anybody can build you a computer program for $10 an hour because it saturated. Well, what we're going to have is nobody's going to want to be a police officer. And regardless where these cities think they're going to defund them, it's going to cost you a lot more to get a police officer because nobody's going to want to do it unless they get paid a whole hell of a lot more than they get paid now. So that's what I'm thinking is you're going to end up seeing a big switch of to entice people to be an officer. The only thing you can do is pay them a lot more, which they deserve anyway. But what I'm saying is that they're trying to push out to defund these people. But at the end of the day, the same people who are saying defund them are when somebody breaks in their house or calling the police.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you have to have somebody that says the law of the land, because like everybody said, it says, hey, to the younger kids, watch a movie. The movie's called Mad Max. Check it out, right? Right? And there'll be a few Thunderdomes, and that's how you're going to realize who what happens when somebody breaks in your freaking backyard or something.
Right.
But we're headed to a higher level of definitely stress and anxiety and stuff all the way across the board. But the great part, like I said, is the community awareness that we bought. A lot of people, I've flown all over the place, and I run into people at airports wearing their 22 kill ring. A lot of stars, you'll see Jay Glazer every once in a while wears 22 kill ring on Fox Sports and News. Some of the veterans and the people we know that we gave rings wear it. So we've gotten it really spread out now. And now what we want to do is continually to learn and spread more ways. So now we do telehealth through your cell phone, right? So if we can't get to you, we'll counsel you through the phone, which is telehealth, so we can still see your face. And because just say you are in a different state and you need help, you can contact us. So we have all these other things.
Face to face, like you said. It's you got to be able to read the room. By talking to someone over the phone, you might hear what they're saying, but you might not understand what they're saying.
Is definitely a must, but we'd rather see you in person if possible. But I'll let you know one other thing is come next year, the one tribe, one fight is we're breaking up 22 Kill and we're creating an umbrella. We have all these services. So you'll see that we'll release the first part of next year that the One Tribe Foundation is what we're going to be called. Now, inside the One Tribe Foundation, we will keep 22 Kill. That'll be our awareness program, and our the veterans really connect to that 22 Kill. And then we'll have Forged. We'll have Stay the Course as our counseling. We have White Star. White Star is like Gold Star. You know, there'd be a Gold Star family. You lost somebody, but just say you're a veteran. You got out and you took your life. If you got out and you took your life, you weren't active duty, Gold Star won't take them. So we created White Star, and White Star takes whatever family lost any person in service, a man and woman. We will be their allies and help the family and support the family. And our new program, that I say new, it's almost a year, or it's been probably a year, is Watch. And Watch stands for We Are the Children of Heroes. And what Watch does is concentrate on the children of the lost, and that's first responders or veterans, right? We let the children learn how to do community active programs. We take them on trips. We have a music program where it's really cool. We have a Nashville songwriter comes in, he gets with each kid, and they basically take the pain of losing mom or dad, and they get to put it in a song, and the Nashville guy rearranges it, puts it, plays it, and records it, and gives it back to the child that they can, hey, you created this song, so look, your pain turned into this song that's amazing.
Right.
So it's Watch program helps them. It also helps, mom or dad as well learn how to be mom and dad again. It's sad that these kids, like when we helped Gary Sinise Foundation with their counseling at at Disney.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, these kids are at Disney World, and you say, hey, what do you want? What's the most thing that you want? And you're thinking they're going to tell you a ride or something, and they go, man, all I want is mom to be happy again. And it's sad that a kid is at Disney World
Right.
and steal their first thing that they want. I just want to see my mom happy again. So these kids are bearing these pain as well, and we have to help the kids as well. So the Watch program does that. And by the way, I hope that your listeners know the children of lost police officers have it probably the worst, because one of our lost police officers, his wife told me when the kids went to school, other kids said, hey, it's good that your dad got killed because my parents say cops suck. I mean, that kid has to go to school and be told that. It's ridiculous. So you have these children bearing this weight that they're way too young to understand or handle. So that's what the Watch program does, is we're there for them, so they have a coping mechanism and someone to talk to, and different ways to get it out, and also to learn to get back into society as well. Because if mom's depressed and she's sleeping all day because she lost dad, this child's not interacting in the community, or singing somewhere, or helping other people, like even feeding the homeless. We have them do that because they need to realize, hey, I don't have it as bad as I thought I did. These people have bad, I can help them. And we just start letting them learn to give, and at the same time being able to get that weight that they bear off their chest. Because I'm telling you, when you see a 10-year-old child cry about, I can't tell anybody that my dad died, it's a pretty powerful thing.
Well, and it leads to problems down the road, because
Oh
you're
yeah.
just seeing the first phase of this kind of lifelong, I guess, situation for them, because it never goes away. As much as we want to say that it gets better and people feel better after time, it never goes away. Now, Dan, I don't know if you know exact numbers, but can we get into what we're seeing more of: men, women, combat, non-combat? What are kind of the trends that we're seeing with this?
Well, statistically, I mean, of course, a lot of men and women who have seen combat that are carrying those weight is going to be a higher rate.
Okay.
But in that, there's a lot of levels of military women too, and of course there's more men.
Of course.
Just because our military is heavy weighted with more male than female, but there's a few uh, military women that I know that when they told the story about, you're a Marine and you're a woman, and how hard it is to basically, I mean, you got all these, strong-willed guys around you, and the stress level for them and where they get to cope is a whole different thing I could never even understand.
Right.
And the few that that personally that I know that have gone through stuff, I can understand it, because being on the other side and when I was in, you know, um, you just take for granted that it's a different stress level for them and what they're going through, and also, opportunities, right? If there's a position open at the military, most probably, they're going to get whoever's the strongest, the fastest, or whatever to do some of those positions, and it's harder for a lot of them to get promoted and some of the things that opportunities and things. So when you get out, a lot of the women that I know that went through our counseling program, uh, the therapy was monumental to them, but the difference was a lot of the women vets seemed to open up easier, than the men. But
Well, they
statistically,
don't have that wall up, I think,
well, they have
that
the
where
wall up,
you
but I
have to
think
be
it's easier
strong.
for them to. I think it's easier for them to talk to people, because I don't think they feel they're looked at differently than a
Right.
guy thinks he's looked at, that it's a weakness. But yeah, I mean, statistically, like I said, it's more than, I believe it's a whole lot more than 22 a day. We lose a first responder one every 8 hours when you do all the math of all the first responders. But on how many versus that, we do track our statistics, but I don't know, uh, of course, or how much I believe what's put out about all over the U.S., right? Because I don't,
Right.
a lot of that stuff's not being tracked correctly. But we do what we do. We kind of have an intro evaluation that rates the depression and anxiety and other things, right? And we track that through their whole progress so that we can document with them, through different tests, that they are getting better, right? And then, so that's the great thing about us, is that so we can apply for grants and things like that. We have to have all these statistics totally spelled out. So we're really good at that. But as I said, when we were called, well, when our main name was 22 Kill, it's sad that, we call it just like AIDS, right? When AIDS first came out, everybody, you know, just didn't want to have anything to do with it, right? And it wasn't
Right.
until a lot of the music community jumped in, then all of a sudden it became okay. Well,
There's
the
a
word,
stigma attached to
right.
it.
And with our name 22 Kill, which is a call sign, that's all kill is in the military, is a call sign, but they heal kill, they're out. In other words, is they're not even listening to the mission. They're worried about a name. So they're part of the problem. But in that, we needed to find a solution, because we're getting involved in Hollywood and a lot of things like that. So that's why we went with this coming year, the One Tribe Foundation, because the One Tribe Foundation will encompass everything, and we will apply for most of the grants. We applied through the grants through Stay the Course, and we've got a lot of grants, but we'll use the One Tribe Foundation. But you're right, man. I tell you what, it's going to be. I think when I don't know what's going to happen with the election, and a charity I can't get involved in who should win and who shouldn't, but there's definitely,
I don't
if there's
even
a
want to take a
person,
guess what's going to happen.
yeah, if there's if there's a group that, uh, like I said, it's very not as supportive, I think, in the veteran world, we're going to have even more issues. I just don't know till America wakes up and understands to help and support our veterans. And it's gotten a lot better, because now we're seeing more groups wanting to give money, and it feels like where we were 10 years ago where it was hard to get money for. I mean, I remember somebody that we were talking about, hey, these guys have PTS and all this other stuff. This woman said, well, they went overseas. I mean, they're the ones that got it. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. PTS isn't an STD. They didn't go somewhere and catch this thing. It's an actual
they weren't trying to catch it.
Right. It's an actual casualty of war. And why we have higher levels of PTS, because I won't say the D because it's a disorder, and it's not a disorder. So I don't say PTSD. I just say PTS. But anyway, is that you look at it, why is there more TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, and all these things more that stay with these veterans? And it's because our armor's gotten better. So more men and women are living through traumatic experiences because they were wearing a vest, they were wearing a better helmet, their gear was better, so they lived through these explosions. They might lose a leg, an arm, but they're living through more that back in Vietnam and back in World War II that you wouldn't have not lived through, right?
Right.
But in that, the interesting thing that we found that our CEO, who he was blown up in an IED, lost his leg, part of his other leg, part of his right arm, is the greatest thing he told me was, he goes, man, when I was sitting in the hospital, I thought the hardest thing I'm going to have to go through is the new physical world I'm going to live in, right?
Right.
And he actually said the physical changes that he adapt to were a million times easier than the mental issues he had to adapt to.
And so what were some of the mental things that he was saying that he had to go through?
Well, first of all was, how do I conquer this pain without relying on drugs and alcohol?
Right.
What am I now going to do with myself? I've lost a leg, right? Part of my right arm. How are people going to perceive me? It's just like this huge traumatic experience has happened, and it's like, we'll pin a Purple Heart on you. You're out processed, and what am I going to do with myself, right? Because I'm getting money from the government because I'm disabled, but it's kind of like that thing. If it's broken and the lawnmower needs a pull string, but you just leave it in the garage, it's just going to sit there and rot. So these men and women that have gone through these huge traumatic experiences that are sitting at home, that scar is still there.
Right.
When they deal with the VA, it's hard to get treatments. Some of them, the next, like Jake, when his, just say his nub that goes into his prosthetic starts bleeding, sometimes it's 3 months before they can see him. Well, he does not want to get back in a wheelchair, right? So he'll hurt himself even harder to continue to wear that prosthetic leg. So luckily 22 Kill's been blessed that we have doctors that are friends of 22 Kill, medical doctors, who said, hey, if any of your veterans need that, I'll try to get him in. We'll try to get him replacement socks if they can't get that goes over the stuff. So we have a lot of resources that we've been able to get to help these veterans. But at the end of the day, I'm telling you, it's the 6 inches between the ears is the hardest thing to conquer for these veterans that have gone through so much, especially the traumatic brain injuries and the other things some of these veterans have gone through. That is the hardest road, more than a physical. Most of the ones I've seen, I've adapted to a chair. I've got my life. I know how to do things, but it still comes back to what happens my whole day. In other words, you can take them hunting and fishing, but in the month, that's one time, right? So they got to have a good time. But what do I do the rest of the month? What do I do with myself?
30 days.
Right. So that's the challenge is believing in yourself again and saying, well, what do you want to do? Right. I want to do this and that. Well, freaking do it. Let's get your mind straight. Let's get you committed in this, and let's do that. And we've had veterans who are blown up and had lost both of their eyes. And man, I tell you what, learned how to read Braille, put himself through college, and then wrote a book. So it's amazing experiences how strong, because once a veteran gets himself, he or she back to 100%, man, there's nothing they can't conquer. And you hear these stories of these veterans doing some of the amazing things, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro and with no legs. I mean,
Right.
it's amazing because the will of the warrior is still there. And what we tell every veteran that goes, man, I want to take my life because I'm not that person anymore. Like, why aren't you that person anymore? The heart of that warrior is still in there. Let's try to find a way to get it back. And let's get you concentrated and focused on something else that will drive you. And we have a friend of mine, one of our veterans. I'm telling you what, this guy's got a prosthetic leg. He beats me at golf. He can surf. He can do, I mean, the guy is just like a beast, right? Because now he's changed that focus to, I want to learn how to hunt. I want to learn archery. I want to learn how to surf. And he works out every day. He does things every day to better himself because now he has these goals, right?
Right.
And what's great, met a fantastic woman. They're getting married in April. So you see once that veteran and the first responders, once they get refocused, man, it's hard to stop them, right? It really is.
Yeah. Well, when you were talking about the VA, and you say that they have something go wrong and they're bleeding and they hurt themselves more because it's going to take 3 months to get back in. That's a huge problem to me.
It is.
And more than just getting them back in, because then it makes you think it's taking them 3 months to get back in for a problem that they know is there. It's a visible scar. It's a visible wound to them. And 3 months because there's so many of them. And we go back to the mental again. I just, it blows my mind to think how many people are being pushed to the wayside because that's not a visible scar, which, as you're saying, is probably the most important scar they're going to get. And so, what do we do as a people, as a, John Q citizen? What do we do to get these things fixed? Because that's ridiculous for people that have defended this country to be put on a back burner for not only visible medical scars, but for these mental scars. So what do we do?
I mean, we need to push our congressmen, our senators, our congressmen, and everything to let these veterans use what doctors that they want to use and to see people as fast as they can get in. That's what really needs to happen. I mean, like I said, is the VA. I mean, so this is what I tell everybody. At the end of the day, I mean, like I said, why I feel it's not successful is because if you're a doctor, you're going to go somewhere to get paid big money, right? You're going to go work for a hospital stuff. The VA is not paying you big money. So it's just hard because I don't think that they have the best, the funny thing was we had one of our galas and I brought two amazing guys. One we lost. He took his life, Stephen Jackal, which is a sad moment for us because he was a very close friend. We loved him dearly, but he lost both of his legs and he had two of his, two prosthetic legs. Mm-hmm. And then a friend of mine, Matt Pierce, who was a Fort Worth cop who was shot 6 times in the line of duty. Mm-hmm. But interesting on that day on the stage that I never even thought about it is kind of how Jackal talked about how he bounced around in the medical world to get treated, right? And Matt was talking about how when he was treated, they flew in all over the place, these specialists, you know what I mean, to mm-hmm. save his life. It just seemed like there was no amount of money they were willing to pay whatever to save his life. And it was interesting, the level of care that Matt got was amazing, and it was,
and that's like an amazing story, and the level of care talking about in the field when it happened from that point all the way up through. That's an amazing story of his, and it's the difference in being in, not overseas in a battlefield, as it was a battlefield there too, but how close they were to hospitals and things like that and aid. So what did you see the difference in the mentality? Because as you said, you've lost one of these gentlemen. What did you see different in them?
Well, I mean, the problem is with suicide at the end of the day with a lot of people, you can't stand by somebody and put him, you know, in a room and guard him. You know, at the end of the
Absolutely.
day,
Well, that's how they
like
handle it in the military, though. They put them on suicide watch and they
right.
post a guard to them, and that's not
But
a
here's at the
realistic
same
thing in the
time,
world.
we had a vet who tried to take his life. They got him to the VA. He went to the hospital, and a day later, they asked him if he was going to try it again. He said no, so they released him. I mean,
See,
so you know, I mean, we've got to be smarter than that on some
absolutely.
circumstances and stuff like that. But in that, but by the way, Matt Pierce, the Fort Worth guy, he's an officer again.
Yep.
But why? I mean, I'm speaking for Matt. I mean, we're friends, but why is the real reason why he's an officer again? Well, even though he got shot 6 times, and the guy almost died. I mean, he got shot in the head. He lived through a shot in the head, and the rest of them were all over the place. I mean, you hear his story, you can look it up. Matter of fact, they have the actual video on YouTube of him in his car and the whole thing. It'll take your breath away listening to him and his moments of where life got close. But why is because he couldn't retire. He didn't have enough years in service to retire.
Right.
So as he said, I went back, but he's got to go back. He's got a family to take care of. He's got kids. And it's sad to me that, man, if you get a guy, an officer that has been shot, there should be some instant pension of retirement that they should receive. And the same thing with a veteran. If a veteran becomes fully disabled at a young age, I just think there should be better opportunities that's brought to them on college educations, and
Absolutely.
there's just got to be better solutions, that we have services that once they've been counseled, that we help them through that. Now, yeah, there are things they can apply for. There are things that they can go after, but at some of those locations, there's only a certain many that they're going to take, and also the solution of a lot of them go, I really don't know who to talk to about that, right? Like who do I talk to about how do I better myself, and what opportunities are out there? I mean, Texas is starting to do some pretty cool things that if you hire a veteran, they'll subsidize half of the hourly cost for them, and then they'll give you money to help train them. So there's a lot of these opportunities, but it's now, where does it fit in to what veteran? I give examples, like we have a lot of people ask me, hey, I want to hire a veteran like in my shipping and receiving. Well,
Right.
this person was a chief master sergeant. His pay of where he was at was way above Mr. Shipping and Receiving, right? So
Right.
going to him and say, hey, do you want to be shipping and receiving, is just same thing as, do you want to work in the drive through? It's like, well, I should be more than that. I mean, I led, 300, men and women. I've got all this leadership skills.
Right.
So that's the problem, is trying to find out by what grade they wear to where they fit into the opportunities they have. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing I always say is that it's sad. You can't give a veteran a free car. You can't give a veteran a free house till that veteran fixes the 6 inches between their ears. Because people were like, there's several veterans that they gave homes to that end up taking their lives, and they go, I don't understand. We gave them everything. We gave them a free home. It's like, I know, but you didn't fix them mentally first, right?
Right.
So you could have given them a damn Lamborghini. It wouldn't have made a bit of difference. So that's the big issue, is that sometimes you try to fix issues by just throwing money at it, right? And
Right.
and at the end of the day, you got to start with mental health first. And I understand there's a lot of things out there for mental health, and and the thing that's very dangerous is people are learning, like everything else is, like, I don't want to go to counseling, so what else is there, right? Well, they have all these different programs, but at the end of the day, nothing beats one-on-one therapy, because I don't care what it is that they're trying to do to help with the mental health stuff. if they can't get out that pain and anguish, they'll never be empowered to learn how to get over that pain and conquer it. So that's the
Well,
thing that
I think
I
that's an
see.
important point that you should push on your non-traditional, because they work hand in hand with your traditional therapies at 22 Kill. Those
Right.
non-traditionals go hand in hand. A lot of people think, oh, it's just non-traditional, I'm going to go fishing and everything's going to be okay, but that's not the case at all. They go hand in hand with each other.
Well, I mean, they go hand in hand if the veteran wants to do it. So that's why we say they're separate, because it's sad that when you go, hey, you want to go do this, and they go, wait a second, I'll need therapy. Hey, man, all we're doing is hanging out, right? But that non-traditional of going to hang out, to me, gets the camaraderie back.
That's what I was about to say.
Right.
It's still
Then
traditional because you're still talking.
right. And then all of a sudden you get these allies of these people. As my wife said, that there was some event that, like, one of the first events I brought her to years ago. She saw these three veterans come in, and they were standoffish. All three of them didn't know each other, and they didn't know
Mhm.
anybody else in the room. And then she kind of just forgot about them. And at the end of the night, she saw them high-fiving and hugging guys and bumping fists. And all. She goes, how in the hell did they make friends with that many people that fast? And that's when she finally got it, that
As a
holy
team.
crap, that's that camaraderie you talked about. And I said, yeah, you'll never see three civilians who don't know each other walk in a room. They might
Right.
introduce each other to one, two people, but they're not hugging anybody and fist
Right.
bumping and doing all that stuff. So the camaraderie is a whole different thing. But once you get it, they start telling the stories of things they've been through, and then they'll start talking to one and go, hey, this 22 kill thing, you try the therapy, man. I tell you what, talk about releasing the soul and empowering me. Well, I don't know if I need that or not, because yeah, one night I did this and this, and hey, listen, bro, that's not right. You can't do that anymore. This is what I'm talking about. Let's get you going. Let's get you back at 100%. Let's get that warrior back. And some of them, like I had an officer friend of mine. You know, I have a few, I call them battle buddies, that are just people that are, I've got probably 20, 25, or 30 people I try to keep in touch with, making sure they're doing all
Right.
right. And I knew he was going through a hard time, and he uh drinking, and I just very self-destructive. And I kept telling him every time I saw this guy, bro, I love you, man. I love you. I'm your friend, man, but you need help. I'm just telling you. And he, no, man, I don't need. Okay, okay. Then his wife asked him for a divorce. And finally, he called me, bro, I think you're right. It took that long. I mean, it took a year for him to see how self-destructive he was. But what I'm saying is the love of just saying, hey, I love you, but man, you're gonna have to fix yourself, bro. You need help. You need to. You're self-medicating. You're doing these things, but never giving up. Like I said, life's not easy. You can tell me to go f off 100 times, but if I love you, I'm still coming back at you. And
For that 101st time.
right. So about like you said, the 101st time, he says, okay, what do I need to do? So the amazing thing is, he goes through our program, and you could see the self-awareness and the control starting to come back. Now all of a sudden, I see him posting, he put all new tile in his house. He's rebuilding his back fence. He put a fire pit in the backyard, because all this time of self-medicating is gone, right? And he started feeling it with things, and all of a sudden he realized, holy crap, I got a lot of time, and I can do a lot of things that I've always wanted to do, right?
Right.
And then
Right.
he started seeing, like, that became the new thing, right? The new thing was like, holy shit, my house is starting to look good. Look at this
Right.
tile. And then maybe I should do cabinets. And all of a sudden, he got excited. And then he started, together they started being counseled together and trying to work it back together. But what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, we've got to love and support the people around us. And you can't just give up on them.
Well, you got to
And
know that it's hard sometimes to love those people. That people
oh,
should know that going into it. It's very hard to love those people sometimes.
you know,
And
if you care about them, but
right.
yeah, if somebody wants to reject you and go away, I mean, what I'm saying is that's what he did. I mean, like my wife was like, "Why do you freaking talk to him? Sometimes he talks to you like crap." And I said, "Hey, but I know what's going on," and that's all I
Hmm.
wanted to tell him. Hey, when you're ready, let me know. Because the sad part about us that we have to do is we still have to uh, confide to the and hold to the HIPAA laws that are out there. So the sad part is we get a wife or a mother that says, "Man, can you please help my son or my daughter? Can you call him?" I can't. They have to make that first step and call us. We can't call them to try to entice to come to our program. It's we can't do it. And so the first step is to understand that you have an issue and it's okay. It's okay not to be okay. But man, I tell you what, that first step is the hardest step. It really is.
Absolutely.
And the problem is why I say the camaraderie is better is because um, another example, I'm at a golf outing, and this guy that works at a car lot, who's a friend of mine, he's a general manager. It was for 22 kill, and I was me being chairman of the board. The thing I look at is like nothing's below me. If any of my tribe members are working events selling T-shirts, I'll freaking work and sell T-shirts. I mean, to me, we're all one tribe. So I'm out there selling T-shirts. And this guy says, "Hey, my son was a Marine." He said, "Man, he's doing good. Blah blah blah. I'm going to give you $200 for what y'all are doing, but I'm glad my son's not going through it." And his son listened to him, said that, and that night, his son just let go and told his dad, "I'm not okay. I'm not. I'm having." And his dad was freaking surprised
Right.
and said, "Well, why haven't you ever told me? What's the deal?" He goes, "Well, you don't realize I have told you, but the communication, like even though they're father and son, it's not the same communication as that it is with the camaraderie." So once we got that individual in, it was like, he says, "Man, it's like he's back in his, platoon. He's having fun, cutting up with guys, and now he's asking for help. I just see a different person, more happier, uh, more good at where he is today." So there's all those stories, but at the end of the day, it takes a tribe, to conquer this deal. That's why, like I said, it's one tribe, one fight. Is because you can't just do it by yourself. You got to have, and but like you said, that's the whole thing. Even if your son and daughter or your sister-in-law or whatever is not in the military and they are having an issue, you got to love them. And what we say is love hard, because
Because it's hard to love
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, it's not easy, but you know, I look at it that, you know, my thing, and we're not a religious organization. I'm a religious guy that I just think that everybody inside them has this soul, and that soul is seeking for things. The sad part is it depends on who you end up hitting that you seek with. In other words, is if it's negativity, if it's drugs and alcohol, then you can go to the dark side in the sense and destroy your life that way. But when you grasp on, you see somebody do a good deed or do something awesome, you go, "Wow, that was awesome." You could feel that the soul goes, "That was amazing that they did that." And you start thinking instantly, "Maybe I should do something like that." So sometimes people, especially civilians, I want patriots. Everybody goes, "I never served." I don't care if you served or not. We need more patriots in this country. But come be a part of us, help volunteer, and your soul will be so filled up that when you're making that difference and helping us or making a difference, and not only that, I'm saying you want to help your church or you want to help poor people or you want to help something else. I just think we seek to better, and that's what your soul really needs. I mean, just like you hear these millionaires, I'm a multi-millionaire and I'm not happy, because you can have all the millions of dollars, and I know when you don't have it, you go, "If I just had more money, I'd be happy," right? But at the end of the day, till you have something that fills that soul, then you realize that's true happiness. Is um, you coach for a team, you do something. What I say, like my grandmother told me, when I think it was like 10 years old. I've never forgotten this. Is she said, "What do you think that God wants out of you the most?" And I threw out all these things. Hell, I'm 10. And she goes, "No, what he wants the most out of you is you to make a difference in this world, and not just monetarily, not just give money, that you put your hands around something, you physically made it change to the better." That's really what he wants. That's why he's put men and women on this planet, is because we need to make a difference and help each other. Because how many people do you hear that were selfish their whole lives, and at the end of their lives they said, "I wish I could have helped somebody, I wish I could have made a difference," because at the end of the deal, all the selfishness of "I want this, this, and that," it never can feel what's inside. It can never, to me, it can never feel that soul. So that's why, to me, is that, I always told my wife, if COVID takes everything away and I live in the shed in the backyard, as long as there's a toilet we can put in it, I'm freaking pretty happy. You know what I mean? I don't care how nice it live or
Now
what.
it's got to be a regular toilet though. The hell
Yeah,
with
it
those
has to go
composting
somewhere. Yeah,
toilets.
you could put a toilet in there, but it's actually got to go
Yeah,
like
it's got to
plumbing.
go somewhere.
Yeah,
Dan,
somewhere.
let's talk about a couple more things before we
Sure.
wrap this up. I want to talk about signs that people can look for, because I think that's a big problem too, is people don't know what they're looking for to see that people are hurting. Just like you mentioned that dad, "Hey, my son's doing fine. I'm glad that you have this organization, but I'm fine." So let's talk about one, signs to look for, what we should do when we see those signs, and then I want to wrap it up with the honor ring and then how to
Okay.
volunteer.
Okay. So to me, the signs are very common. When I've been to funerals, people said, "Man, I knew they were sad. I knew they were depressed. They didn't want to be around me anymore. They self-isolated, or they were using drugs or alcohol." They tell you the signs that are the signs, right? And that's the problem, is most of those signs are in front of you. And when the friends that all of a sudden change, they don't want to hang around with you anymore. When you call them, they're always at home and they say, "No, I'm just sleeping all the time." Those are signs that I think you can be pretty smart to go, "Man, something's going on," right?
Right.
So the real issue is ask and press the issue. In other words, ask the question, but press the issue of, "Hey, no, what's going on? Tell me what's going on." As a friend or a loved one, you need to press the issue. And then third, be ready to come up with a solution. Okay? So in other words, if you know that they're depressed, you know there's an issue, find them a solution and help them get there. Right? You don't have to, you can take them, you're not going to be in the room, right? But help them find a solution. I mean, we all know what's the solution if you have a friend that has a drug problem. Well, let's help them go to a drug rehab, right? I mean, you know what the problem is, but a lot of times the biggest issue I'd say is you see the signs and you ignore them. And
Do you think that's
that's,
out of fear?
I think it's out of, we think now, especially worse than ever, COVID, excuse me, we think now, you know what, I got enough problems. I mean, I got enough stuff going on in my life
Okay.
right now. And you turn away from your friends, which goes back to you should really love your friends, right?
Okay.
Because once again, the ones that I have helped that were, believe me, I almost rather beat my head on concrete. It was such a difficult thing. But when they got over that hump, the love they gave back was just, I can't even imagine when I see some of the veterans that and first responders that give me the best hug in the whole freaking world, because that hug, you can tell, meant, "Man, you changed my life to the better." So the other thing is, we got to pick up, I call them cookies, is that somebody will throw out a cookie, and that can be on email, text message, or a conversation. Is all of a sudden it's like, "Man, yeah, well, how things going? You know what? I was thinking the other night, what if I just left the world? What if I just wasn't here tomorrow?" You got to be smart enough to listen and find those cookies that are thrown out there and go, "Whoa, hey, Stein, like what I say is stop right there. Stop right. What the hell did you just say?" "Well, I just said, it's no big deal." No, 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 dude. I tell you what, I talk to people every day. I never say to one person that I'm talking to, hey, I might not be here tomorrow, blah, 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 right? So why did you say that? What's going on with you? Well, I lost my job and this has happened. Well, what's going on, man? Like, what can I help you? Or let's focus on what the issue is. How can I help you and support you? You know? And it's tough because, of course, each person that's going through pain, a lot of it's what's going on in the world, right? Which is I lost my job. So financially, there's a lot of issues. Well, I can't give you money. You know what I mean? I can't. So we can help you try to figure out, man, maybe you can defer some of your payments. Maybe you can sell something. Let us help you. But at the end of the day, we can't, we definitely 22 kill. It's not going to give you money to pay your bills and help you on things, right? There's been veterans that something catastrophic has happened, right? And we've helped the family because that's not fair, right?
Right.
Dad or mom took their lives, and we've done some fundraisers, helped with GoFundMe that make sure they're taken care of. But that's the thing. The biggest thing that you have to look for is let's be more aware of things that are happening. And like I said, I'm gonna tell you right now, all the funerals I've gone to that were suicide, good portion of people that were friends came up to me and said, literally, I knew they were depressed. I knew they were self-isolating. I knew they were drinking more than they usually did. They were hard to talk to, and I didn't know what was going on. And it's like, well, you just said it. So from that, the honor ring, like I said, is we want you to be part of our tribe. And when we go places, how instantly anywhere I go, when I see somebody wearing the 22 kill ring, I instantly go, hey, is that a 22 kill ring? Because it's on their index finger, which is your trigger finger. So you put it on your trigger finger, and it tells other people that you're part of the tribe. And what we want you to do is something in the military called force multiplier. And a force multiplier is sort of like the rumor thing in this sense. If you keep spreading it, how that grows. Well, the force multiplier is if you come, like I've had people say, I want to donate $100 to 22 Kill. I said, I tell you what, you keep that $100. You come to an event. You come to see the camaraderie and the things. And I promise you, that 100 turns into thousands by when you tell people the story, by seeing that in your heart, that all of a sudden you can tell them these are the amazing things they're doing. You now empower, force multiply 10 people to give $100. And that to me is more powerful, is when you witness what we do and you come volunteer, which you can go to our website or you can go through Facebook, and you can we have basically a calendar that will send you. Justin Jones is our outreach coordinator. And but hey, I'm telling you, we've gotten so large, you got to jump on it fast, because we'd say, hey, we want 10 people. We'll put you what time that you're going to show up. You need to show up. Then we want you to learn the mission, because if you're going to sell apparel, to me, we're more interested that you know the mission than how to sell apparel, right?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, there's always new people that come, and what I don't want to see is, and neither does anyone else, is, so what does 22 kill mean? And you go, I don't know, let me find somebody. So we want you to understand the mission. And we've got videos out there, or you can ask anybody that works for us, but we want you to be able to help with that camaraderie and help it grow. And like I said, go to the website. You can buy any of our apparel and get a ring. You can get a ring customized. If you wanted the Marine logo in it, Air Force, you can go to our website and see all the different things. And that
I saw
costs a little,
rank and everything on them.
yeah, anything that you want done, it costs you a little bit more to do it, because we laser engrave ourselves. And but to be proud of it, and that's the thing. We see more and more people want more and more things that have to do with service. The greatest one was have a ring that we have done that just says Patriot. And to me, I love it when a civilian goes, I want a ring that just says a patriot, because that means to me is like, all I want to do is say, I believe in the mission. I believe what you guys are doing. And I want to talk to people about it. But
Which
just
means
like,
more than anything
oh,
to
more than
people that
anything,
are
just
doing it.
like when a veteran, I tell everybody, if you buy a veteran's lunch or you tell them thank you for your service, they might not look like right away that made a difference, but hell, you may have kept them going for one more day by them going, wow, somebody actually. And the funny thing I always say is somebody goes, man, I told this old guy, thank you for your service. He didn't seem like you know, like he appreciated it. I said, listen, he's wearing that hat that said veteran because he wants people to know. And the fact
Absolutely.
that you paid attention and said something, believe me, it made a big difference. You may have not seen it, but in his heart, it made a big difference because he's wearing that hat because he's proud, but he's also wearing it because he wants people to know that. And that you recognize it, especially a young man or woman, goes a long way. But yes, you can donate through ourselves. And by the way, one thing that I'm really proud of, because if people don't realize, when you want to analyze a charity, a 501c3, you they're all exposed on the IRS. You can go view their 990 and you can see exactly what goes to the programs. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of charities that only 15% actually goes to a program. So what I'm proud of is, out of every dollar, 85 cents goes to a program. So 85% is unheard of. But that's how serious we are about doing the right thing and being good stewards of your money. So when we do something, it's to benefit the programs and to benefit men and women that serve.
Well, it's an amazing organization. You guys are really fighting the fight that a lot of people, I think, don't even know about right now, and I think that's where it starts. So, guys, let's go over a couple things real quick. If you're feeling like suicide, if you're feeling down, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255. If you want to get a hold of 22 Kill, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can email at info at 22kill.com. You can also send a text message to 838-255. They have, of course, the 22 Kill website, and that's 22kill.com. It has everything that you need to know about. You can volunteer with them. There's a couple different ways to do that. And if you want to be part of what they're doing from a veteran standpoint, from a first responder standpoint, there are ways, and it will tell you exactly what you need to do to be a part of that. You can also go to their store. You can purchase the merchandise, which of course helps out. But I think the biggest thing that they want is people to take part in things, that they take that $100 bill and turn it into 1,000 by being a part of it and letting people know. So, Dan, it's been an amazing conversation with you. You are truly a great man to do this, to be the chairman of this board. Dan Lombardo Jr., he is the chairman of the board for 22 Kill. Please get a hold of him. We'll put all the links up on the actual video and the podcast to let people just click on it and be able to go to it. Is there anything else that you want to promote before we get out of here, Dan?
The last thing is just what I said, is focus. Hey, listen, find somebody in your family and just give them a hug, love them hard, because life is short, and make sure that they know that you want them to be here, because that's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, check out this organization if you haven't ever heard about it. If you know someone in your family that's a first responder, that's a military personnel that's hurting, or if you have someone that's not any one of those things, please look for the signs. Please help them out. Once again, the national number is 1-800-273-8255. You can go to the 22 Kill website at 22kill.com. You can get info at info at 22kill.com, a text message at 838-255. Guys, that's going to be it for the show this week. This has been the DTD podcast. Just remember, whatever you want to do in life, you do that deed. That's going to be Dan. I'm DJ. This has been the show for this week. We'll catch you on the next one. See you later, guys.